together. There's a lot of money in the LGBTQ community, QI community, and it was nice to see everyone get together. Antonio Brown, who's a city councilman in Atlanta, Jay Davis, who is a celebrity trainer, ex-female boxer. There were a lot of people on the panel that were just talking about, the economic just basically what's happening in the LGBTQ community with the economics, and we all just need to get together and spread the love. Pink dollars are good dollars, and pink dollars matter. I really want to give a shout out. He doesn't know he's one of my mentors. He's one of my work husbands, Jack Kinley of the former Lab Monkey Communications. The company has gone through a rebirthing, and the name of the company is now the Collabo Group, and they focus on branding, diversity, inclusion, and employee communications. So shout out to him. He's one of those people. He has such a beautiful mind. He helped me find out who I was as a business owner and take those steps. As a business owner, when you are in an environment as an quasi-employee, you're afraid to kind of go out on your own and sign a contract for 2 years of rent in a brand new office. And I remember going to visit him. We served on a board together as president and vice president. And I remember just thinking, man, if he can do it, I should be able to do it. And he's bold enough to do it, so I could do it. So literally, you never know who you are influencing in your life, but just do things the right way. And, shout out to Jack Kinley again, because he's got an office with the entire He-Man collection. And at Christmas time, he likes to collect Christmas trees, and he does this whole Christmas tree forest thing. So I absolutely love that. But today's show is going to be great. We have Tau Pi Omega. We have the workshop Building Your Economic Legacy. We have special guest Antonio Barnes of FMX Logistics. He's going to be talking to us about angel investing, right? Venture capitalist. So if you have a business owner friend, you need to call them, text them, however you communicate with them, wake them up. They need to be watching this show today. And for the sneakerheads that you have in your life, wake them up, because we have our sneaker stock moves for the day as well. So coming up, we will be talking about financing your billion-dollar startup idea on Financial Renaissance with the M's. Ooh, what a day we're having today. Welcome back to Financial Renaissance with the M's. I am the M's, the MF, Emma Folks, that's right, CFP extraordinaire. We've got a great show for you today. And again, thank you for listening to us on ssnatl.com and watching us live on Sensation Station Network. I was told that some people are going to have questions that they're not comfortable with putting in the comment section on Facebook. So go ahead and text those comments or questions to us for a friend at 678-613-5857. Once again, go ahead and text out your comments or questions to us at 678-613-5857. Now, today's show we're going to be talking about sources of funding your business. We have Antonio Barnes, the CEO. He has been involved with mergers and acquisitions for a lot of major companies. So he's going to be telling us how to negotiate, come up with funding, and all that good stuff. And we're going to be also talking about the business owner blues. Like, what is it that business owners go through? What is it that gives them some angst? But first, let's talk about something that brought some joy to my heart. I was doing some research on smallbiztrends.com and found out that there has been a 400% increase. Pause. 400% increase in the number of black-owned businesses in the United States in the year 2018. Phenomenal. And even better than that, it looks like 45% of all the business owners that were surveyed for this were minority of ethnic minority. They were non-European white people, right? So that was amazing. 15% in 2015. So back in 2015, there were only 15% of the business owners that were being surveyed were business owners. And now we're at 45%. So that's a huge jump. America, we are trying to fix our country. Business owners are the glue that holds this country together. Okay? We are the backbone. We are the hirers. We are the job creators. We are the ones that take it on the chin by the government, by our employees, We take it by everybody, by our loved ones. You work too much. So we take it by everybody, but we've got a passion. Business owners have a passion. They want to make something happen, or they're frustrated and they feel they can do things better. So, hey, meet us halfway. If you support the businesses in your community. Another cool factoid was 14% of the minority businesses were owned by Hispanics, 7% were owned by our Asian brothers and sisters, and 4% of the businesses out there, minority businesses, are owned by our Native American brothers and sisters. So that made me really, really proud because I keep seeing progress. So forget about your glass ceiling. We're building our own roofs. That's right. So let's talk about why people, business owners, and they survey these African American business owners to find out why is it that you went out on your own. I've got my own story. I'd had enough of corporate America. I'd had enough of talking to people who were trying to guide me and lead me on the right path and just thinking that they were absolutely stupid. And I know a lot of you are thinking the same thing. Yes, absolutely stupid. What the advice that I gave to my son about corporate America is you can become an entrepreneur at any time, but you need to cut your teeth in corporate America for a few reasons. One, you need to understand the structure of businesses. And two, you need to see all the mistakes that people make. So when you become a business owner, you don't do the same things. So the leap of faith, 62% of the business owners that were surveyed, they wanted to pursue their own passion, right? So it's no longer about the money. 62% wanted to do something that they felt they were put here on this earth to do. Talk about that leap of faith. 53% were ready to be their own boss. I don't know who wants that. It always sounds so attractive, but being your own boss is like adulting. It sucks sometimes. 30% of the people surveyed, they got into business for themselves because the opportunity presented itself. And I know a few people out there who are like that. 22% of the people surveyed were tired of corporate America's cow patties. That's another way of saying bull, you know. Yeah. And then 12% were actually laid off or outsourced. Now, the leading types of businesses that are owned and operated by black business owners are your business services. So things that are intangible, usually stuff that you have in your mind. So whether it's hair, whether it's lawyers, accountants, financial planners, people that have services that they provide where there's not an actual tangible thing. They're not making anything. Now, 9% of the business owners are in the health, fitness, and beauty industries. Now, I hope some of you are actually considering tapping into that multi-billion-dollar beauty industry. African Americans spend the most money on health and beauty and hygiene products. And that money does not even originate, or the products don't originate in America. They originate someplace else. In China, they originate every place else but here. So us as Americans, we need to be looking at bringing those dollars back home because it's our people that are, that are buying it. Now, one of the other cool things about this survey is that degrees were not required to partake in this business ownership boom. That's right. It was almost equal across the board for everyone except those that had their doctorate degree. So for people that had their high school diploma or GED, they accounted for about 32% of the business owners that were surveyed. Associate's degrees, bachelor's and undergrad about 25%, and then master's around 20%. So it's all type of age ranges. It's just a really, really good figure to have, is knowing that there's a lot of black-owned businesses are just jumping off right now. So still to come, we're going to embrace your financial powers. We're going to be jumping into Antonio Barnes, and we're also going to be looking at some more stats of the black business owners. And we are back with Financial Renaissance with the M's, and I have my usual suspects in the building again. I have Linda Dye, Denise McKinley from Tau Pi Omega,
chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated,
and our special guest Antonio Barnes. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
A member of the First Family.
I'm also a member of the First Family. from the beta chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity
Oh,
Incorporated.
well, thank you for that. Yes, we have some HBCUs alums in the house. We have FAMU and then Howard, right? Howard University?
The Howard University.
The Howard, the Howard University. And Mr. Barnes is a CEO of FMX Logistics, which is an Atlanta-based company. He's a private equity investor as well as a serial entrepreneur. So I really want to welcome you. I've got tons of stuff that we want to chop up with you. Everybody has a great idea.
Right.
I've got this great idea. I just don't have the money to make this idea make me rich.
Right.
And so that's what you're here to help do.
Right.
Make the world rich.
Sure.
Money. So let's talk about let's go into definitions, because in your industry, and I'm sure it's like mine, people misuse terminology all the time.
All the time.
Okay, they have they're not very well versed on what certain things mean. So
Right.
let's talk about let's start with venture capital.
Sure.
Okay, what exactly is venture capital?
It is equity money used to start a new venture, and thus the term venture capital.
And
So it's typically to fund businesses that are in very early stages or don't yet exist.
so startups.
Startups.
So, for instance, if you have a shoe shine repair shop, venture capital is not for you.
Probably not for you,
Okay.
because those investors will look at that business and say, well, if it's not scalable, how can we recoup our investment?
Now, do most venture capitalists and private equity investors looking for a company that they can eventually take public?
Not necessarily. They're looking for a company that will scale over time and that they can exit at a profit.
Exit at a profit.
Right.
From the moment you start your business, you want to know your exit strategy. I promise you.
correct.
I promise you.
That's correct.
So what is the difference between a venture capitalist and, say, an equity investor?
Right. So venture capitalists catch businesses at very early stages. Private equity investors typically acquire more mature businesses.
Okay. And what do you do?
I acquire businesses that are more mature.
Ooh, how mature? 5
Typically-
years, 10 years?
Typically 5 to 10 years with an established client base, and I like businesses that are in distress.
Okay.
So the first company I bought in 2014 was a company called Broad Range Logistics here in Atlanta, and they were emerging from bankruptcy. So it was an opportunity to get that value.
Okay.
It still had good, what we call good bones, right? They had a good fleet, good warehouse, good facilities, staff, experienced staff in place. But they had fallen on some hard times with some bad customers. So once we scraped that off the books, what you have left is still a good skeleton of a company. And so I just put some muscle on it with some new capital.
Do you think that, what do you think are some of the challenges that business owners have? Like I was telling you, I did that study, or I was reading the study about black business owners and what some of their main challenges are. What are you seeing out there?
Well, obviously access to capital being the big one, right? We have an environment where small business capital has been reduced. Small business capital and investments was typically led by the government through the Small Business Administration. And you have several loan programs through the Small Business Administration. However, those programs have not been supported as of late. Really going all the way back to the George W. Bush administration, where, really the majority of the monetary benefits from the federal government went to more established companies through the form of tax credits or tax cuts, which small businesses don't really benefit from.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about the challenges that some black women business owners are facing, and then we're going to talk about whether or not it makes sense to buy an existing business or start your own when we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's. And we are back on Financial Renaissance with the M's. Thanks for watching us on Sensation Station Network live on Facebook. And we're here with Denise and Linda and Antonio. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. Oh, you're talking back now? She's awake. She's awake. She rolled up in here like, I ain't had my coffee yet. Don't speak to me. So let's talk about, Antonio and I are going to be co-hosting.
Yes.
What are we co-hosting? Building Your Economic
Legacy Workshop Series,
June 15th. June
15th.
15th. Oh, I was right.
This is
June
our
15th.
workshop number 3.
Trade. And what is the workshop about?
We're focusing on entrepreneurship and business lending.
Okay, entrepreneurship and business lending, and where's it going to be held?
It's going to be held at Scott Campbell Library from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
And Linda, how much is it?
Free.
And how do people sign up?
Just come on in.
That's not how you sign up.
We have a Facebook event that you can RSVP into.
That way too.
Yeah. You can go to AKA Top High Omega on Facebook and find that Facebook event.
Thank you. So before the break, we were speaking about, was talking about the black women business owners that were surveyed and what they felt were some of their top challenges. And their top challenges, 80% of the women surveyed said that lack of capital and cash flow was their top business challenge. Their second challenge was marketing and advertising. And then the third challenge was time management. I think all people struggle with time management. I don't think it's a black thing and a white thing. It's just a human thing. We've got too much going on. But let's talk about the buying an existing business, because I always feel sometimes that, people try to reinvent the wheel.
Sure.
Right? And sometimes you can look at franchises, or you could look at a business that's already in existence. There are a ton of people who are baby boomers who are going to be retiring.
That's correct.
Right? And a lot of them, their retirement, their net worth is tied into their
business.
That's right. So they're going to be looking to unwind out of that, and they want to, go off into the sunset. So what is your advice for someone that's thinking about buying a business?
Well, I would say buy a business in an industry that you know something about, right?
Absolutely.
So if you spent, 30 years working for Ford Motor Company, or your last 10 years working at General Motors, then, maybe you want to look at something in the automotive sector. Right? That's where the bulk of your relationships are. That's where your professional relationships are. That's where you're more likely to attract capital, because you already have a track record and a reputation. And you have a higher likelihood of being successful. What you want to do when you enter these investments and looking at opportunities is you want to figure out how to de-risk the opportunity.
A lot of people, they like something, or they have a hobby, or they, think they want to get into the restaurant business, which is one I hear a lot. And
Sure.
That's the one that I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't do this. Way more work than you can ever imagine.
Sure.
And unless you grew up in the industry, meaning, you started from, washing dishes and blah, 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 or you've got the capital to hire the people that you want, are there any businesses that people should, really do their due diligence? I mean, you should do your due diligence on
Sure.
everything, but are there certain businesses that you see people gravitate towards that they should really pause?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the restaurant business is definitely one.
So hard to do.
Yeah, it's incredibly saturated. It is highly competitive, and if you don't have, a long-standing experience in that particular industry, I would advise against it. I mean, I think there are just less riskier businesses to invest in.
And consumers are fickle.
That's correct.
Consumers are fickle, and especially here in the South, in the great state of Georgia, in its city of Atlanta, inside the perimeter, we're fickle about restaurants.
That's right.
We're fickle. We
If
like
P.
it
Diddy
today.
couldn't make a restaurant work. I don't know if anybody's gonna make a. If
Hey.
some of the biggest local personalities have had free advertising platforms and couldn't make their restaurants work.
So where do people find capital?
From a number of places. One, you could always just do your Googles, right?
Google.
Yeah, you could always Google capital, and the best place to find capital is locally. Right, it's pretty it's pretty popular these days. So, and then there's always the bank.
So I can Google, I need money for my business.
Yes, and see what comes up. Start there, right? Money for business. Even more specifically, money for business in Atlanta.
Ooh.
Even more specifically, money for businesses for black women in Atlanta. And see what comes up. You'd be surprised. Even if it's not necessarily a capital source, it might be a conduit to a capital source.
I need money for business in Atlanta for black women and my folks.
Right. And then before you know it, there's probably some mentorship program out there that if you complete the program, they help you with your loan application. You get help with your loan application. Then you get in front of the banks, and then the banks are more likely to approve you because you've been coached up.
Hey, I hope you're listening.
Taking notes.
I hope
Taking
you're taking
notes.
notes this morning. I'm telling you, call your friends, wake them up, wake them up. We are dropping the knowledge this morning. So, due diligence, which is something that I feel where a lot of people fall short.
Right.
Okay, and you've got way more experience than this than
That's right.
I do. I used to see it a lot more before the Great Recession. I've been in the financial planning industry now for almost 20 years, and I used to watch people take money out of their 401ks
Yep.
and start a business that was really a hobby that they thought was going to be a great idea, They didn't do focus group. They didn't look at trends of, whether or not the business was going to get seasonal traffic. I mean, nada.
Right.
They just had a great idea, and someone lent them money to buy a building or to do something, and I literally watched people's retirement money just
Evaporate.
disappear.
Yeah.
Disappear.
Yeah.
So let's talk to me about due diligence.
Right. So what you first want to do before you go into any business is you want to figure out, is there a demand for this business? Does anybody want this particular product or service? And you can do that before you incorporate. You can do that before you put up a website. You can do that before, anything, right? So you want to spend some time even interviewing potential customers and just asking them and saying, hey, you know what? I'm thinking of starting my own, IT consulting firm. How do you make decisions about how you select, your IT service providers? If we were to start this business, is this something that you would consider acquiring from us?
I like that.
Right?
And hopefully that customer is not just your circle, it's outside of your circle, because your circle is going to
gosh.
say, yeah, great
Yeah,
idea,
that's
do
a great-
it.
That's a
I
great
support
point.
you,
That is a
right?
great point. That is,
That's
oh
right.
my gosh, that's such a great point. You have to go outside and start networking.
Right.
Yes.
There's the Georgia Business Brokers something or another
Sure.
association, but there's different associations that people can become familiar with. So for me, anytime you're thinking of making a big monetary move, you need to start dating an industry. And dating that industry is getting, finding a mentor in that industry and networking with people in that industry, because to me, you're not going to really know what you're getting into, and you're not going to know the questions to ask unless you talk to people that
That's right.
have been and walked the path that you're about to walk.
That's correct.
Right? So besides, Googling, because
Sure.
that sounds really simple.
Sure.
Right? So what are some other ways that people can secure financing?
Well, obviously, there's always personal financing, right? There's always friends and family, which I don't
62%
advise.
of business owners, 72, I think it may be even 80-something% of people finance their own businesses.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I did the same thing for the most part. But there's crowdfunding, right? You could crowdfund it where you could raise money from complete strangers. But you have opportunity to pitch your idea to people who don't know you. And who might, send you $5. But if you get,
$5.
1,000 people to send you $5, there you go. It's $5
true,
grand.
true, yeah.
That's $5,000. So, which could pay for your initial advertising. So, there are a few ways. There's personal, there's public. There are captive investors, like we said, venture capital firms, private equity firms, depending on the type of business and what you're trying to do.
So people hear, okay, there's private equity firms, venture capital firms. Like, how do they get in front of these people? How do
Right.
they meet? Like, oh, I have this idea.
You'd be
I need
surprised.
$20,000.
It's not as difficult as you think.
What percentage of my business do I need to give up? Like, we've all watched Shark Tank.
Shark Tank.
That's
We've
right.
all watched Shark Tank and was like, I will not give up 50% of my business to make $100 million.
Right.
Like, I want to be in control. I want
you
to
wanna be
be.
in
That's
control.
my
Ooh,
baby.
that's another
because
thing to
because
bring up.
a business becomes a baby.
That's right.
And it's a baby that other people can't tell you is ugly, because you get caught up in your feelings. And when you reach out to venture capitalists, that's basically what you're doing, is you're allowing someone to tell you your kid is ugly.
Right.
And how
And you
to-
need to hear that, though. You
Yeah.
got to push through
Yeah.
it.
The
You
ugly
you
truth.
Need to, you need to hear that. You need to push through it. You don't want to have any, we all have our biases,
Yes.
right? And we need to push through those in order to be successful, because what the market thinks of your idea 9 times out of 10 is not what you think of it. So
Well,
you need to know that.
yeah, we need to know that. And then do you think on the front end that people should do more work, say, with business plans, marketing plans, strategic plans, or
I'm
is that
not-
all a waste of time
I
now?
think it's a big waste of time. I think you should spend more time in
Wow.
customer development. I haven't written a business plan in years.
Right.
That's a big change from when I was in
Right, what
business
you
school.
learn in
Right,
school.
right. What you learn in school, your strategic plan is supposed to be on your desk and have coffee stains on it.
Right.
Right? Isn't that what and
business
I'm
plans
still
have a
okay with the
use.
strategic plan. I'm okay with the strategic
Sure.
plan because it keeps you focused on the the grind. But the business plan, like, what am I doing projections of?
Right.
Right.
And I'm telling you, okay, listen, I think I'm going to make, it's like a fantasy.
Right, right. So business plans are useful for established businesses, right? And established markets with established customer bases where those cash flows are predictable.
Okay.
right? And that's when you want to have a plan. But that's really more of a corporate approach. See, there's this fallacy out there that people think that small businesses are just smaller versions of big businesses, and that's not true.
Ooh, speak
Yes.
more.
That's a good
That's
point.
Right?
Speak more.
That's not true. You know, whether you're starting your own beauty shop or starting an internet company, you know, you have to make sure that it is market driven, right? And customer driven and customer focused, you know, because that's where the value is. And once you establish that and create a service or a product that has good, what we call product market fit, right? And then that's when you'll see, you know, real traction with the customer.
All right. Well, listen, I hope you guys are soaking it all in. This is one of those shows you're going to have to go back and replay because the knowledge being kicked today is ridiculous. Next up on Financial Renaissance with the M's, we're going to continue the conversation of raising capital, but we're going to segue into negotiating deals, what you need to do before you get in front of venture capitalists on Financial Renaissance with the M's. Free smoke, free smoke. We are giving away free knowledge today on Financial Renaissance with the M's. Go ahead and join the conversation on Facebook by engaging in civil comments, your questions and stuff on Sensation Station Network, or you can text us at 678-613-5857. Coming up, we have market movers and losers, and we also are going to be looking at the U.S. Home Construction Index. Before the break, we were talking about securing loans. How do you raise capital? And one of the things I want to dig into a little bit, we were having a bit of a conversation during the break about control. And as business owners, again, as a business owner, you birth this idea and you put in the work, the hours, the money, the struggle. There's so much that comes along with working for yourself. It's nowhere as easy as people try to make it out to be. Being a business owner and an entrepreneur is one of the most difficult things in the world, in my opinion. So let's talk about control. You know, you said there's consequences for everything. So how do you help people with their emotional intelligence?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. When it comes to giving up a portion of their business for help?
Right. So what I try to tell people is you want to de-risk either business endeavor, right? Because it's not necessarily about, you know, the upside, but it's about the downside too. You know, can you survive a company that, you know, may not be successful and be, you know, in a position to move on to something else? And one of the ways you do that is by divvying up the pie up front, right? So you find people that, you know, maybe, I tell people all the time, you know, don't go out in the street and find a business partner. You know, find somebody that, you know, you understand their temperament. And they understand your temperament.
Because isn't it like a marriage?
It is a marriage.
It is a marriage, right?
That's right. That's right. And you need to understand that. And then also find someone that has, you know, a complementary skill set to yours. So if I'm a sales and marketing person and we want to start a tech company, I need a partner that's a technologist, right?
Right. Technologist?
Right, right. So, right, if I'm starting, if I want to start a restaurant and, you know, I like food, say, you know, we try to warn people about starting restaurants, but say, you know, if I want to start a restaurant and I like food and I like to cook, I really need to partner with someone that understands sales and marketing, that understands branding, right?
Front
That
end, not the back end.
Right. That's correct. So you want to make sure, because that does a couple of things. One, it gives you, you know, a more well-rounded business development approach, and then also, you know, it gives you a higher opportunity to be successful, and clearly defined roles minimize conflict.
Yeah, and I think with a lot of business owners, they're really good at something. Whatever
That's right.
it is that their company produces, right?
That's
So
right.
I'm a financial planner. I'm great at doing financial plans. But you know what I'm not great at? Scheduling.
Right.
You know, there are certain things that I'm horrible at. There was a book I read years ago called E-Myth Revisited, which I absolutely hated. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the different hats that business owners have to wear and why it's important to maybe farm that out to someone else when we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's. And we're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. We are in the studio with our usual suspects, Linda Dye and Denise McKinley.
Hello.
Did you like that movie, Usual Suspects?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Very good.
Never seen it.
It's classic, one of my favorites.
It's an age thing.
It's an age
It's an
thing,
age
yeah.
thing. I was going to say something. It's an age thing. I'm going to just let that slide. I'm going to let that slide. Okay. So, you know, I was saying to you, Antonio, during the break, how much we need to know about people like you. You were explaining to me how you're, kind of you partner with other companies. You'll take over almost the sales and marketing piece. They'll do the operations, things of that nature.
That's correct.
So it's almost like with the venture capitalist, you're bringing in a partner.
That's correct.
With another set of skills, it's the light bulbs are going off in my head. Okay,
and you get their balance sheet too, so you're not worried about working capital or anything like that. If you go out and, I'll give you an example. So the company that I currently operate is a company called FMX Logistics. We're a full service logistics company based here in Atlanta. We do freight forwarding and warehousing.
Freight forwarding?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's when you got to ship things from point A to point B. So if you are if you're a Lockheed Martin and you need replacement propeller blades that need to go to, Iraq, right, within a month, we'll box those up and ship them out and clear customs, put it on an ocean freight container, and ship it across the ocean to Iraq to your end customer. We do that, for companies like Lockheed.
Okay.
And one of the things we did is we started a joint venture, and you talked about capital.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one workaround for capital is the joint venture, right?
That's good to know.
And that's a way to partner with a larger corporation in something that you're particularly good at, where they can backstop all of your operations for you.
What's backstop?
Basically, you use their infrastructure to grow your business. So if they have warehouses already, I don't need to go out and lease warehouses. I use their warehouses.
Man, there's so much going on in my head today. I can't keep up. The questions are coming.
Sure.
What about age ranges? When we're looking at people who are trying to raise capital, are you seeing people in certain age ranges?
All over the place. Obviously, it's a lot easier to raise capital if you can show that you have a track record or experience in the particular industry that you're trying to raise capital for.
Are you looking for, as a financial planner, I'm always telling people, make sure you have cash set aside.
Sure.
Cash reserves is not just for emergencies, but it's always also for opportunities. So
That's right.
when you're looking at a person's financial records, are you looking at just their business stuff? Are you looking at personal? Are you looking at their tax returns?
Sure.
What.
I rarely look at anyone's tax returns or their financial records. I typically try to understand what their area of expertise is.
Okay.
And whether I would do business with this person or not.
Wow. What do you say? Do you want to do business with me?
I'm interested in doing some business with Antonio. He has, he's dropping a lot of gems here.
That was a no.
Like he's.
Did you feel that?
I felt it.
It was a soft no. It was a soft no. I think you got a chance. I think you got a chance.
I'm okay with the no's. That's the thing, as a business owner, a lot of people, I think, don't understand how resilient you have to be.
The level of
and the
rejection.
no's, there's the level of rejection is unlike anything you've ever experienced before, but it's what makes you stronger.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And what makes the success of it that much sweeter.
Gotta learn from it.
You gotta learn from it. You want to tell me no one more time?
Maybe I'll consider it.
Okay.
How's that?
So there are people that, want to become angel investors, right?
Right.
They they've got extra capital. They're doing their investments on the Wall Street side. They've got real estate, and they're looking at helping out communities. In a lot of cases, people want to give back, and giving back is more than just volunteering. Giving back, there's different ways of giving back, and for some people, giving back is reaching back and seeing someone that has potential.
Right.
Right? So how do people, hey, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. How do I find somebody to help?
Well, start in the circle you're already in. So I typically don't invest in businesses that I can't help, right?
Okay.
So I don't want to just write you a check and say, hey, good luck.
You sure?
I want to write you a check. I want to write you a check, and then I want to be able to make phone calls for you to help you grow your business. You see that on Shark Tank all the time, right?
Yes.
You'll see Mark Cuban say, hey, I invested in a company similar to yours. I think you guys would be a great business partner for them. So, yeah, I'll give you $1 million, and then I'm going to plug you into the company that I own already that's doing $200 million to help you grow your business that way. So then you get that flywheel effect, right? That kind of what we call in the military a force multiplier, right?
You're in the military?
Air Force.
Oh, I was in the Army.
Yeah, there you go. So you get that force multiplier because there's infrastructure already in place, there are relationships already in place that you can leverage to grow your business without having to go out and attract new customers.
That's why you went after those colonels.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's all, the dots are all connecting. Excuse me.
Right, right,
Okay.
right. That's right. That's right. So, you want to, that way, it helps you with sales and marketing too, right? Because now you're not doing the sales and marketing. There's a larger corporation out there with customers already, and you're helping them to service the customers that they already have as a subcontractor.
Now, what about, since you are a veteran,
Yeah.
what about veteran-owned businesses or disabled veteran businesses?
I tell veterans all the time, if you start a company, definitely get registered with the federal government. There are VA and 8A set-aside contracts. Part of what my business that I do now to grow my business is I take advantage of set-aside contracts with the federal government. It's a great way, even if you don't want to be government focused, to get traction with the business early. And then move in, transition into the commercial space and
Hey,
commercial customers.
who's the largest employer of contractors in the country?
The United States government.
That's right.
Also the biggest customer in the world.
That's right. So there's a lot of opportunities in the government space.
That's correct.
A lot of paperwork. Now,
You definitely have to master that part. There's
but
probably
there's
about
people,
a 1 year
for
ramp up
that. But there's people for that.
There's people for that,
for
but you want to take the time to learn it yourself, though.
Oh.
You want to take the time to learn it yourself. Just like when we were talking earlier about customer development, talking to customers before you launch a business, you don't want to outsource your market research. You want to learn that yourself and have firsthand knowledge of the pain points of your customers. Same thing with doing business with the federal government. You want to understand where the bottlenecks are so that you can work around them as a business owner. You don't want someone else doing that for you, because when you run into a fix, you'll always need that person.
Wow, that is. Did you learn something today? Are you learning?
Absolutely, yes.
Quite a few things.
Quite a few.
Yes.
All right. What's going through your head?
It's like a neural network right
No,
now.
that's not what I What's going through your head right now?
What's going through my head is that I'm going to go back and think through how I can be an entrepreneur, but not your traditional entrepreneur.
Okay.
I want to be that angel investor type of.
Behind the scenes.
Yes.
So an angel investor is not a silent. Is an angel investor
Can be
the same thing
silent.
as a silent partner?
Yeah, I would tell them, you can be a silent partner and still help a company, right? Like, you don't have to show up at management meetings on Monday morning,
Right.
Telling them how to map out the week, right?
Right.
You don't necessarily want to do that. But if the business owner that you just gave, a $20,000 check to, a $30,000 check to says, hey, I've been trying to get into Coca-Cola, I'm having a problem. And you can say, well, you know what? I got a soror that is over supplier diversity at Coca-Cola. Let me call her and see if we can help you get a meeting.
Okay.
Right.
Now, what are you doing? You are protecting your investment
Absolutely.
by making that call. When you start a business, it's all hands on deck.
It
Right.
is. It is.
It's all
Yes,
hands on
not
deck.
just
and so that's how
providing
you
that
should put it.
investment and turning your back. You want to keep an eye on
You
it.
got to
You
make
wanna
sure
be-
that you watch
keep
your
the
investment
risk low.
grow.
That's right.
Monthly
That's right.
reviews, quarterly reviews.
If it fails, it's everybody's fault, right? It takes a village to raise a child. So
Yeah.
Oh, say it again.
Yeah, it takes
Please
a
say
village
that
to raise
again.
a
And it
child.
takes a village to make a company successful.
that's correct.
How do you have any thoughts on people hiring family members and friends?
Sure. I mean, you can hire family members and friends just as long as they have a functional skill, that adds value to the business.
Right, and they should, I encourage people, if you're looking at starting a business and you have young people in your family that are going to college, see if that business is a fit for them. Because I think
Right.
there's nothing better than getting your family members or people,
Listen, my son has been cold calling for me since he was 15 years old. I just give him a list and say,
Awesome.
call all these people. You don't have to sell them anything. Just sell them on a meeting.
wow.
Awesome.
Have you ever fired your son?
Several times.
See, that's good
He
parenting.
keeps showing up, though. He keeps showing up. Monday morning, he's right back at his desk. It's amazing how that works.
Emma, where's your son this morning? Okay.
Fired.
All right.
Hey, no, he's not fired. He's not fired. I have to tell him he's a young man before he ends up with the wife and the kids. Like, enjoy your Saturday nights when you're able to come in and you're not having fun on Saturdays. Then come into the station. But for now, like, don't let us not rob your weekends.
Well, we miss his voice. so. We'll talk about that later.
We won't. We won't. He's too sexy for Sunday morning.
Is he?
Yeah, his voice was too sexy for Sunday mornings. He was hurting him. So, negotiating. So a person wants to, they've booked a meeting with someone. What are some of the things that they should be doing to get themselves ready for a meeting with a venture capitalist and or an angel investor? Or are those two different meetings?
Well, no. Venture capitalists, angel investors have very similar criteria, right? They're both comfortable with investing in a company in its very early stages, even before maybe it has customers or before it's generating a profit, right? And they understand that risk. And as a consequence of understanding that risk, they're going to take a larger part of the company in exchange for their investment, right? So what you want to understand is what value, you don't want to take everybody's money. So you want to understand what this person's motives are. Are they litigious, right? Are they aggressive, right? Is their personality a good fit for you before you take their money? And then also, what's their expertise, right? Because, if you're starting, a restaurant business, you wouldn't go to a Mark Cuban for that because he's a technology guy, right? If you got an internet company, you wouldn't go to a real estate investor for that because it's an internet company.
Funny you say that. There are people that take investment advice from real estate investors.
Yeah. You can.
I'm just saying.
You can absolutely take advice.
Not investment financial advice from.
Oh, sure.
I'm not gonna drop Dave Ramsey or anything like that. But there are people that aren't specific to certain industries that give advice in certain industries
and that aren't licensed to give advice.
That aren't licensed to give advice and give advice freely.
You want to give financial advice? Get a 7.
That's right. On the way, we're going to talk about Antonio's licenses. Financial Renaissance with the M's. We're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are covering venture capitalists, angel investors. How do you become a venture capitalist? Well, how do you become an angel investor? How do you prepare for meetings with these people? But the best thing in the world is that next weekend? Next Saturday.
Next Saturday on the 15th.
Next Saturday on the 15th. If you go to this event called
the Building Your Economic Legacy Workshop Series.
Yes. June 15th at the Scott
Candler Library.
Antonio Barnes and myself are going to be dropping knowledge, and he's going to tell you how he started his business from the ground up. So it should be standing room only. So seriously, go ahead and register. How do they register?
At the Facebook event, if you find at AKA Tall Pi Omega.
Spell that for the people, please.
AKATAUPIOMEGA.
So yeah, that on Facebook. If you go ahead and register, bring your questions with you, bring your friends with you, bring everybody with you that you know. If you've been thinking about starting a business with a group of friends, you guys need to be in the room. This is free knowledge. Doesn't happen very often. There are always people trying to make you pay for what they know. This is how I, did this, and I'll sell you my system. And someone's always trying to sell you on something that they did. You don't even know if they're really successful or not. This is true success sitting in the room with us. He's going to be giving free information next Saturday. If you are not in the room, you are missing out, and we don't want to hear you whining to us after, I promise. Because I'm salty like that. So, do you want to talk about the break that we're taking?
Yeah, so we'll have a 2-month break between our Workshop 3, which is coming up on the 15th, and Workshop 4, which is on September 28th. Same time, same place, Scott Candler Library, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we are having Stephanie Anderson, attorney of the Anderson Law Practice.
Yeah, she's a great estate planning attorney.
Yes.
So here's some factoids I got from that survey on Small Biz Trends, that I wanted to look at the age ranges of the people that were starting new businesses, and literally it is all across the board. So 18 to 29-year-olds and 70-year-olds, I lumped them into one because they account for about 10% of the new businesses started, and these are black-owned businesses.
Okay.
The 30 to 39-year-olds started 22%. 40 to 49-year-olds account for 25% of the business owners. Same thing with the 50 to 59-year-olds account for about 25%. And then this shocked me, was the 60 to 69-year-olds are finishing the list, and they are responsible for 16% of all the new owned black businesses. So shout out to the 60-year-olds, and I really think that number is going to continue to grow. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think it will grow. I think as retirement becomes more uncertain, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not planning to retire.
I don't know too many people, unless they have medical issues. Most
Right.
people, what they're doing is they're going from working for corporate America to consulting.
Right.
And doing a little something, but they're doing that for vacation money, or they're doing it wherever
Absolutely.
they're in another country, but they're still working. They
In
want the
some
flexibility.
form or another.
Yeah.
I
And
plan
I
to
don't
die
think
with
we
my
can-
boots on. I plan to die doing a deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
don't think we can
goodness.
afford to retire.
I know I am. It's not looking too good for my age range.
Well, no comments, but you are absolutely right. So we got to figure out what to do. I want to thank Antonio Barnes. I'll see you next Saturday.
That's right.
Bright and early. Linda and Denise, it's always a pleasure having you guys in. And when we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's, we are talking about the market movers and losers. Losers. Hey. We're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. And listen, man, my head is still, like, there's so many questions and stuff that I have, but that's okay because I'm going to get them all answered next Saturday. So this segment, we're going to be looking at our top 5 news stories for the week. We're then going to be jumping into Recession Watch and then looking at the Dow Jones U.S. Home Construction Index. Where are we? But first, we're going to talk about our market movers and losers. Let's jump in. All right, on the Dow 30, top movers, we had Microsoft, which was up 2.8%. We have Apple. Apple made the list at 2.7%. Intel Corporation was up 2%. United Health Group up 2%. And Walgreens was up 1.9%. We had 3 decliners. Last week, the stock market was on fire. So we only had 3 top decliners, which was JP Morgan Chase, Verizon, and Goldman Sachs. That's right. Goldman Sachs was down. Actually, Goldman Sachs was flat this week. As far as our Dow Jones U.S. Home Construction Index, for the past 5 days, the market was, the home construction index was up about 1%, but for the month, we're down about 2.37%, and for the year, we're now down almost 5%. In the home construction index. For the U.S. Treasuries, we had something happen this week. So the 2-year Treasury was at 1.851%, and the 10-year Treasury actually dipped below 2% for the first time since 2017. But it ended the week at just slightly over 2%. So again, the 10-year Treasury, the 2-year Treasury, when the 10-year Treasury number, that 2%, dips below that 1.8%, and they're both going to consistently be moving. But when the 10-year dips below the 2-year, that means that we are in a recession. So again, we're not quite there yet, but it's coming. So remember, you want to level up. Sneakerheads, wake up. Here we go. Adidas last week hit their 52-week high. They ended almost 5% up. They closed at about $265. Puma was also up almost 3%. Nike, even in extended trading, they were up. They were just kind of flatline because they were up like a 20th of a percent. Under Armour finished up also almost 2% this week, and they had some extended trading stuff going on as well. And then Skechers ended the week at about 2% up as well as Foot Locker ended the week up at about 3.33%. So those are our stock market movers and losers for the week. When we come back, we're going to have my top 5 stories for the week on Financial Renaissance with the M's. And we are back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. We are going to be discussing my top 5 news stories and my Emma Knows Money. I'm actually feeling generous today. I'm going to drop some cool knowledge on you. But first, I want to talk to you about some numbers that I think you should know about. Some numbers that I've seen recently were that the median home prices of San Francisco homes is about $830,000, okay? Now that's actually a tenth of a percent down from last year. So I don't know how they're living on the West Coast, especially up in that Silicon Valley area. It is brutal. $830,000 is the median home price. Now, as far as our tax return, so here's some numbers, and let me make sure I get this right. In 2017, 34 million tax filers claimed a mortgage deduction. And now, after the new tax laws, there were only 14 million who were able to claim a mortgage interest deduction on their Schedule A. So that is almost half. So almost half the people who used to claim a mortgage deduction no longer can claim a mortgage deduction. Another number, and if you know anyone still working in retail, okay, I want you to listen to this number and I want you to repeat this to them. As of May 17th, 2019, 6,400 retail stores have gone out of business. So we're hitting a new high. They're estimating that there are going to be over 8,000 retail store closures this year. So if you know someone who is still in retail, tell them that they need to find another avenue of earning money. They need to get trained. They need to go back to school. There are free courses on Coursera that they can take, but don't get caught flat-footed. Now, in the South right now, there is a lot of tension about this abortion ban. And I mentioned that there's a reason for it, whatever. But some of it has to do with our nation's fertility rate. Our nation's fertility rate is at the lowest it's been. They started tracking, I guess, the number of births per 1,000 women back in the early 1900s. And we are in 2018, we had the lowest birth rate on record. So as a country, we need to continue to populate. But we also need to make sure that we can afford to take care of these kids because, again, they cost, each child is going to cost somewhere between $250,000 to $500,000 to raise them. So make sure people's income is keeping up with inflation. If their income is keeping up with inflation, then maybe they'll be more apt to think about having kids. Because, again, I don't want to bring a kid into the world if I can't afford them. Now, Jay-Z, which we just found out was a billionaire on his own, he just invested about $1 million into a black-owned vegan cookie company. Both him and his wife have been pushing being vegan. My wife and I are thinking about it. I don't know how serious we're going to take it, but we're like half vegan. We're vegan on Monday, Wednesdays, and I think Fridays or something like that. Another number that we should be paying attention to, which also has to do with the recession, is June of 2019, this month, is the 120th consecutive month of the economic expansion. And remember, everything goes in cycles. The economy is in cycles. So after an expansion, we go into a contraction. When we go into a contraction, it's usually a recession. Companies start laying people off. Make sure you have your cash. The Federal Reserve Board is short-staffed. They're supposed to have 7 members, and I believe they only have 5. So we're waiting for the Senate to appoint 2 more people onto that board. And listen, we need to have the Board of Governors or the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors, they need to be whole. Because if we hit a recession, the Federal Reserve Board, the Federal Reserve, they're the ones who decide what to do from an economic policy standpoint. So we need to make sure we have all butts in seats so that they are planning on what to do now instead of waiting until after the crisis happens. This month, the month of June, is usually the month that we know how well we're doing in home sales. The most homes are sold in the month of June. So in the weeks coming, we'll look back at this month to see how well we did, and that's also going to be an indicator of where we stand. The United States, now let's talk about reparations for a second. The United States covers 1,997 billion, with a B, acres of land in the lower 48, continuous. And that includes state and federally owned land that we own as well. And there are 122 million households. Now, if you were to take that 1 billion acres and divide it amongst all the homeowners, each homeowner would be entitled to about 16.3 acres of land. If you want to figure out how to do the math on reparations, do the math with some of these numbers. That would make me feel good. All right. So I believe it was last Thursday, they passed a Secure Act, Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement Act of 2019. That was a mouthful, also known as the Secure Act. They're trying to put provisions in to help retirees or workers save for retirement. What they're doing is they're going to increase the minimum distribution age from 70 and a half to 72. What does that mean? If you have an IRA or a 401k, and let's say you're still working, but you turn 70 and a half, the federal government makes you start taking distributions based on when they think you're going to die. So it's called minimum required distribution. So they are looking at doing something with that. When we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's, I'm going to be going into my top five news stories for the week, and then Emma Knows Money. And we are back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. Great show. Oh my gosh. No coffee needed this morning. It I don't know, I'm a nerd. Actually, I'm not a nerd. I'm a Gemini, and I am stimulated by knowledge. I am stimulated by anything that has to do with wealth building. It just gets me going. So I'm on top of the world right now. We're building our financial house this morning on Financial Renaissance with the M's, and we're going to start with my top 5 news stories of the week, brought to you by the Collabo Group that brings branding, diversity, inclusion, and employee communications to your company. Starting with my top 5 news story, W-4s. There's a new draft of the 2017 tax law, whose government name is the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Yeah, all these, we call it Obamacare. The government name is Affordable Care Act. So we always come up with these little acronyms. So they came up with this new W-4 because the taxpayers and tax professionals were very upset with the IRS because they did not give guidance as to what to do with the new tax law changes and the changes that we, the people, need to make on our W-4s. And everybody got kind of a surprise this year. So the lawmakers aren't understanding, in my opinion, the speed by which things are happening now. So their old way of turtle government isn't working anymore. So if you're going to come out with a new law, you need to make sure that people understand how it's supposed to work and what moves they need to make so that they don't get hurt. But they didn't do that. So if you go to the IRS's website, because they came out with this new W-4, but it doesn't take place, it does not go into effect until 2020. So what are you supposed to do about 2019? Well, for 2019, you got to look at your 2018 taxes and make adjustments. There's some calculations you can do. Go figure. So on the IRS's website, there is a payroll checkup calculator. You can go there and figure it out. You can also use your 2018 tax return, and there's only 6 months left in the year. So my advice to you is talk to a CPA or accountant and ask them what you need to do with your withholdings for the remainder of this year so you don't end up owing a lot of money. The Government Accounting Agency, they did warn everyone last July, that the new tax law, that it wasn't ready for the current W-4. So the reason why we don't know about it is because the Treasury Department has been focusing on our president, his tax returns, a whole bunch of other stuff. So what I'm going to say to you is, talk to your local officials. Your opinion still matters. They want some public commentary if you have any. But as far as this story, I'm kind of getting upset as I'm saying it. So I think this news story is trash, because why tell us about a new W-4, right, when we can't even use it yet, and we still don't know what to do with 2019. That's pissing me off. All right, next story. We're going to talk about Donald Trump. I don't want to talk about Donald Trump. Earlier this week, he declared there was going to be some Mexican tariffs, right? He was going to shut the border down. Nothing was going back and forth, whatever. Well, as a result of doing this, 400,000 residents in the Republic of Texas they said, now, wait a doggone minute, Trump. They were going to lose billions of dollars. So 400,000 people were going to be out of a job because of this tariff war. So Donald Trump said, psych. And Mexico said, we'll come to the table. We'll help a little bit with these migrants. Our own people are a little upset that these, the migrants are coming through our country from Central America and making it up to the United States. They're causing a lot of stress on our country as well and our infrastructure. So the Mexican citizens are now fed up, and they're very angry at the Mexican government for allowing the U.S. to get upset enough to shut the borders down. So the bottom line is the long-term effects are still unknown, because this threat may actually have a destabilizing impact with one of our closest trading partners, which is Mexico. This whole story I also think is trash, because this didn't need to happen this way. We could have just picked up the phone and had a conversation with Mexico and not about the wall. All right. The best job in America pays over $108,000 a year, and it has a number of openings. That's right. There has probably never been a better time since the Great Recession to start looking for a job. So if your boss is starting to get on your nerves, management team not acting right, you don't feel there's a lot of room for growth where you are, start looking elsewhere. This is the time to do it, okay? We haven't had a time like this in a long time. So the top jobs in America, according to Glassdoor, for the fourth straight year is a data scientist. These are the people that go through all that data aggregation, the stuff that we're upset about because Facebook and all these companies keep stealing all of our information. Well, there's somebody who takes this information and processes it so that the companies know what moves to make with their customers. So the data scientist will make about 108,000, followed by the number 2 job is nursing managers at about 83,000. Marketing managers came on at number 3 at 82,000. Occupational therapists came in at number 4 at 74,000. And then product managers was the number 5 job, and they average about 115,000. In April, the jobs report numbers were that 263,000 jobs were created, but they're mainly driven by white-collar businesses, construction, and healthcare. But the economists are warning, don't get too excited because the recession is coming and nearly 500,000 workers dropped out of the labor force last year. So share this information. There's other studies out there with their number, top 5 jobs. But share this information with a college freshman or undergrad, or undeclared undergrad, or even somebody who has declared their major. But kids need to know where they need to get corporate dollars and jobs that have the best flexibility. All right, next story I'm going to be looking at has to do with a CEO that wrote a baby please letter to its employees. Okay, Elon Musk wrote an email to his employees urging them to improve the vehicle deliveries. He asked them to focus on making the end of quarter deliveries better than they've ever been historically. Like, please let us end the month of June with hitting these numbers. Sales of Tesla's electronic vehicles dropped 41% from the fourth quarter 2018 to the first quarter 2019. So the company, this is what I would do. I'd get everybody in a big room, all the conference rooms all over Tesla, and I'd say, look to the left, look to the right of you. If we don't hit these numbers, one of you may not be here. That's right, you're fired. If we don't hit these numbers, we're going to be fired. But there's so much to unpackage with this because, is this an employee problem? Is this a management problem? Is the company setting unrealistic expectations? Is there a bonus structure in place? Why are you begging people to CYA? Like, you had to see this coming. There's something here that's amiss. So this story also, I'm going to say, is trash because I don't like CEOs begging employees to do their job. I'm accurate. All right, let's talk about Walmart. Walmart, as my grandma would say. Walmart is trying to woo high school students with free test prep for SATs and ACTs, and they're also trying to woo them with debt-free college benefit. Walmart is the largest employer in the United States, and they're making a very, very big push to recruit high school students. Right now, out of the 1.4 million associates that work at Walmart, about 25,000 of them are high school students. So the eligible teens will be given more predictable and flexible work schedules. Like, they go to school, they should have flexibility and predictability. Imagine that. Yes, we can make that happen. So in addition to the free test prep, the workers, the high school, once they complete high school, they'll be eligible to earn up to $1 a day towards college education benefit. And I know what you're thinking, $1 a day, if they work 340 days a year, what is $340 going to do towards their education? But I will be getting to that. So up to 5,000 associates are going to be eligible for this new college program, this college education benefit. And Walmart has partnered up their college program they're calling Live Better You. They started it about a year ago, and there's 7,500 associates who have enrolled so far into the program. And the Walmart Academy, it's an in-house career training program, and they have partnered with the Guild Education and also other universities, University of Florida, Brandman, Bellevue University, Southern New Hampshire University, Purdue University Global, and now Wilmington. And what they've done is they've now are covering 14 technology degrees. So it's not just about business, business management, things of that nature. They're including programs on cybersecurity and also information technology and web application development, just to name a few. So Walmart, and again, I don't know the price of the tuition per se, but I don't think the tuition that they're going to be paying as part of this program is the tuition that we're thinking about. They're not going to be paying, $20,000 and $30,000 for a degree through this program. So far, what are the results looking like? So far, as I mentioned, 7,500 associates have enrolled. There has been an 80% retention rate, and the associates have completed 31,000 credit hours. So if we're looking at the value add based on what these associates have learned has equated to about $300 million. So in my opinion, Walmart, I'm not a huge fan of Walmart and what they've done in smaller communities, basically wiping out mom and pop shops, wiping out wealth. Well, now they're realizing that they have to do something in these towns and provinces and hovels where they are. They have to give back to the employees. So for that, again, it's a small thing, but it is a very, very big thing. Education is very important, and a lot of people that are in these rural communities don't have the resources to get a college education, right? It is expensive and it is daunting, and a lot of people don't want to go to college. If you're in a smaller area, you don't want to go to college and spend $20,000 a year, so we're looking at $80,000, only to come out making 25 to 30 and never being able to pay the student loan debt down. So kudos to Walmart for actually putting an investment back into the company. And another thing I learned about Walmart, we talked about their managers making about $175,000 a year, which is great. Walmart is also looking at paying their associates a lot more than they used to. So kudos to them for trying to turn this ship around. Again, you can't turn a cruise ship around on a dime in 5 minutes. It takes time. So kudos to Walmart. Thank you for listening to us on Sensation Station Network. When I come back, it's going to be Emma Knows Money. That's right, Emma Knows Money, and I'm going to be talking about some jobs that you can do, some jobs that you need to be looking at, some careers you should be looking at if you want to be a solopreneur. We are back with Financial Renaissance with the M's, and it is time for Emma Knows Money segment. This segment of Emma Knows Money is brought to you by Clear Bottoms. The warm waters of Florida may feel great to you, but for your boat, it causes an overgrowth of algae and barnacles. You know what those are? No. All right. Call the diving specialists at Clean Bottoms to handle all of your underwater bottom boat needs and yacht needs. And you can find Clean Bottoms at cleanbottoms.net. Thank you, Clean Bottoms. All right. Emma Knows Money. What Emma Knows Money is, we're going to talk about the most profitable small business type. So if you are looking at a small business to buy or to get into, tax preparation and bookkeeping has one of the lowest overheads and is one of the top most profitable types of businesses to get in. However, if you are not good with numbers, don't do it. Number 2 is going to be catering. If you're great at cooking, again, you can rent kitchens, you can rent kitchen space out, things like that. Overhead can be low because you don't have to have a restaurant per se. So catering is a nice way to get into running your own business, and you can start on the weekends. Web design is another profitable business you can get into, very low overhead. And you can start out on some of the app type things like Upworks and Fiverr. And then business consulting. You can work from home as a business consultant. You just go out or you use the little camera on your computer when you have to meet with people, or you fly to where they are. And then the 5th most profitable business type is the courier services. And if you're looking at getting into it now, you can look on apps that have to deal with grocery, restaurant, simple task, ride sharing, and also package delivery. That's a nice way to get your courier services started. Now, for a bonus, because I'm feeling very charitable today, I'm going to tell you about 5 things that you can do, 5 ways you can start your own business at home without having to leave the home. I'm serious. All right. So number 1 is online tutoring, okay? So you can tutor online. There are certain countries that will pay you about $1,000 a month to tutor their kids. And these are Asian countries, probably South Korea and China. The only thing is you'll have to wake up very early in the morning, right? But you don't have to leave the house. So wake up at 4. Drink your coffee, and then you teach these kids English, okay? The next one is going to be art, design, and crafting. If you are artsy and you can create something, you can also sell that online. And for the people who are always correcting my intentional grammatical errors, proofreading and writing. They are looking for people online who can do proofreading and writing. You don't have to leave the house to make extra bread. Now, we mentioned my son, Linda mentioned the boy. Voiceover work. There are apps that are looking for people who can do voiceover work. You don't have to leave the house, you just need your equipment. Nice mic, headphones, nice sounds. And then if you're one of those people that are going, Emma, I have no talents, I have no skills, well, there are online surveys. That's right, you can do online surveys. They may pay $10, $20. I don't know what the amount is, you look it up, but there are apps that focus on surveys because people want to know, they want data, and if they want data, they're willing to pay for it. So there's no reason why you can't go out there and get some extra hustle money on to help pay down debt, save money, because again, we know the recession is coming. Get ready, it's time to level up. On Financial Renaissance with the M's, see you in 300 seconds. And we're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. What a great show. I'm yelling at my producer because he won't give me what I want. What I want is my music, and he's not giving it to me. But we're going to work on that, aren't we, Trina? Yes, we are. All right. Listen, congrats to all American minority business owners for smashing that glass ceiling, okay? And creating your own, building your own roof, and helping our country grow. Our GDP numbers suck butt, okay? We have to have that growth come from within. We need to do stuff here in our country and stop outsourcing. We are not winning anymore. So congratulations to the 45% of all the business owners out there that are minorities that are doing the darn thing. Today's show, we talked about securing. I hope you learned something. And if you're still interested in learning more, Antonio gave so much knowledge. So make sure you go back, share the show with your friends, share the show with anyone you know who's looking at starting a business. They need to hear the information we shared today. We talked about securing funding, what venture capitalists do, what angel investors do. We even talked about how to become an angel investor. You know, how do you date someone, a business owner, before you decide that, hey, I think I want to be in business with you. And then recession watch. We're always on recession watch. Both the 10-year and the 2-year Treasury numbers have dropped significantly. And as I mentioned, the 10-year Treasury dropped below 2%. And again, when we hear those numbers, those 2%, that 1.8, that's also what's going to be happening in your bank account. You know, we're getting excited because we finally hit like the high ones, the low twos in our bank account as far as interest. Well, those numbers are not going to be there anymore. We're going to be going back to where we were years ago when we were earning like less than 1%, 0.5%, nothing a percent, right? That's what's going to be happening. So pay attention, save your money. Get a couple of extra jobs, do something like that. Make sure you're able to pay down your debt, and get ready for opportunities that are going to present themselves during the next recession. It is they come up, level up. And kudos to the AGLCC in Atlanta for having such a great business summit. The rise of the rainbow dollar, they did a great job. I appreciate the panel they had, the business owners, Melissa Scott, Jay Davis, City Councilman Antonio Brown. Oh gosh, I can't think of the woman's name. What was the woman's name from Georgia Voice? Dixon Taylor, and the guy from B of A? And Matt Keith. Yes, you guys did a great job on the panel, and all the other panelists that were there at the AGLCC Business Expo, Business Summit. It was a great event, very well put together. On the way, Smooth Sensational Sunday and Connecting the Dots with Lee Watts at 4 o'clock. And like Barris Hammond said, I'm alive, rejoice, and give praise.
Smooth Sensational Sunday, playing the best of jazz and R&B.
Everything that is taking care of business is together.
Get the sensation.
Sensation Station Network.